All right, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. If you would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we got some good needed moisture on behalf of Commissioner Ertel and Commissioner Candelaria. We welcome you here. The first thing on our agenda is the minutes. Commissioner Candelaria, since Commissioner Ertel was absent, do you?
I've looked them over and everything looks appropriate to me, and I move that we accept the proceedings of the Board of County Commissioners, Montezuma County for January 21st, 2020.
Second, there's been a motion and a second to approve the proceedings of the Board of Commissioners of Montezuma County for January 21st, 2020. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
All right, next we have the Planning Department coming up for a discussion on 49 Square.
Mm-hmm.
Call in Mr. Bradshaw.
Sorry, I'll have to get used to that. Slide that to me, man.
Oh.
Try this again.
Please enter your access code followed by the pound or hash sign.
Yeah, a lot better.
What's his name?
Mr. Bradshaw.
Mr. Bradshaw, is that you? Can you hear us?
Yes, and
Right.
Mr. Fuller, yes.
All right, all right. How you doing? Okay, so we've just started the hearing or the discussion about 49 Squares. Commissioner Ertel is here as well as Commissioner Candelaria. We're going to go ahead and hear from our planning department, and then we'll open it up to you. Okay?
Sounds great. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you.
July 2nd, BOCC meeting, you guys approved their Certificate of Designation for the year with the recommendation of a 6-month review, so that review is what we're looking at today.
All right, so we're looking at the review today, and then we, at the same time, had our administrator was going to be doing. Shaq, did you pay the electric bill? Anyway, we had our administrator was monitoring it, and I think he's going to give us an update of findings.
Okay, so, has 49 Squares at this time turned in their annual groundwater monitoring report to CDPH?
No, that's not due until June for the annual. I think it's June or May. I don't know the exact date on that, but it's June or May.
Okay,
And so that's
So, Mr.
for,
Bradshaw,
you're talking 2000. You're talking for 2019, correct?
that's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. In 2019, I asked for your analytical reports. You have sent 3 quarters. Second quarter that was sampled in April. Third quarter.
Can I correct you there? I apologize. It's actually first quarter. April we were a little bit behind, which has been kind of the understanding going. We've always been right at the end of the quarter, just based on finances. But April's actually first quarter. You will be, and then so on, and then you'll be receiving fourth quarter shortly. And so everything's been tested. We're current with everything.
Well,
We're just always
have you received a variance from the state to alter your quarters?
No, it's my understanding from my hydrologist that that's been the course that it's gone. And I spoke with him on that after I forget who I spoke to on the other, it was Shaq Bowers the other day on the phone. the same confusion as second, third, and quarter. And so I asked him about that, and he kind of said it's kind of been the end of the quarter, and then by the end of the quarter, by the time you get it sent in and get all your test results back, that's when you receive it.
Yeah, but the samples show the test date. You can sample towards the end of the quarter, but it has to be shipped 24 hours overnight on ice with the chain of custody to the lab. So unless you've received a variance from the state, you're still a quarter behind. But my concerns are, have you had time to look over your samples?
Well, based on our hydrologist, they're fine.
So
To
your groundwater samples show low levels of arsenic below EPA standards, such as 0.003 in your second quarter in monitoring well 1R. The EPA standard is 0.010, so it's well below. However, your leachate standard shows a 0.25, almost 2.5 times the EPA standard. And so because you've never submitted 8 quarters in a row to establish a baseline, it can't be determined whether the concentrated arsenic in your leachate is or is not seeping into the groundwater. And that's why you need to get all 8 quarters done so that there can be a baseline established to determine if you are or are not leaching concentrated arsenic into the groundwater supply.
Okay, so I mean, I can speak with our hydrologist, Landon Beck, about that. He's never brought that to my attention. I rely heavily on him because I don't understand, the testing, or we don't understand the testing fully as much as he does, and so we kind of rely a lot on him for that.
But you do understand that the state has been after you to get 8 quarters in a row so a baseline can be established. You do understand that?
Correct. And I believe yes, absolutely. And I believe that we are there on that, or not there, but we are, I think the fourth quarter is our 8th quarter, correct?
Well, you submitted second, third, and fourth quarters, so there's still not 8 consecutive quarters in a row. You didn't have a first quarter of 2019.
Oh, so we're not considering the April of the first quarter? I mean, as the first quarter?
Yeah, so the calendar has 12 months, and 1 quarter of that is 3. April is the 4th month.
No, I know that. I understand that. I understand that we were late.
So, Mr. Bradshaw,
but my understanding is...
Mr. Bradshaw, let me interrupt you. This is Commissioner Candelaria. My question to you is we gave you this extension, and now we're 2 quarters down the road, and it doesn't sound like anything else has been done. Is that correct?
What do you mean anything else has been done?
Have you went forward to get the 8 quarters to CDPHE to become compliant? That's a yes or no answer.
To my understanding, yes.
Okay,
to my understanding, yes. Based on my hydrologist, yes.
Where's the documentation for that? Because that's what we do not have.
That's what I'm expressing. Look, can I get Landon on the phone? Maybe try and get him on the phone and have him explain to me, because
I would rather just have the documentation in front of me. Otherwise, you're going down a path to where me voting on this, I'm going to take this away from you, because I see no action, no movement in 6 months, 2 quarters, and it's failing.
Excuse me, if I may. This is Matt Fuller. Just so that we're clear, since we did get the extension, which we of course appreciate, we have not missed any of the groundwater testing. So that's what Matt Bradshaw is alluding to, is Landon, the hydrologist. So we've continued to do the testing. We do depend on Landon as a hydrologist to get the reports pulled together and submitted, but everything has been done. So we're not missing any of that. We may not have the documentation in front of you. That's something we certainly can provide and get get land and.
No, we do. They
hydrology.
do have the testing we've done, Matt. They do have the testing in front of them that we've done.
Matt, we only
I've
have
sent
three
it to them.
quarters
so-
in front of us. We only have 3 quarters in front of us, Matt.
Fourth quarter's on its way.
Okay, but what about, so we have to establish 8 quarters for a baseline. Where are the missing 4 quarters?
I don't know that we've missed.
When we began this discussion in July, or in May of last year, they had been sampling every other and missing some, so they've gotta get 8 consecutive if they're ever gonna establish a baseline.
But this has been
We-
going on for
Yeah,
10 years.
And if I may, Matt, you may know the answer to this, but I believe that there was 1 quarter missed, and maybe it was the 4th quarter of 2018. I'm not sure which one it was, but we did miss a quarter, but that was prior to our discussion in July. Since that time, we haven't done it, but we can't go retroactive to test what happened, a year and a half ago. So I think Matt, you may know, 5 or 6 or 7 quarters consecutive at this point.
You're 3
Yeah.
quarters consecutive at this point, and in the 10 years you've been supposed to be doing this, you have never done 8 quarters in a row, or you would have a baseline established, and it would be in your statistical analysis plan.
Commissioner, if I may, I apologize. Is this Candelaria?
Yes, sir.
We've kind of I've never known that it being a few weeks late has been an issue. You know what I mean? And going into the next month, at the start of the first quarter, I've been told by my hydrologist that there's no difference in the testing, that we're fine. Had I known that, I would have taken a completely different approach. It's always been based on finances. I spoke with Mr. Powers the other day and expressed the same thing about it not being the second quarter. It was actually the first quarter, and that we were late. Had I known that was an issue, honestly, had I known that was an issue, we would have addressed it. The reason that we were out of 8 consecutive quarters is in 18 we missed a quarter. We just financially couldn't put that together. Since we spoke in July, we had the letter of intent from the Motz brothers, who I forwarded an email to the commissioners about why that's taken a little bit longer than they anticipated. One, the season ends in kind of that time anyway. But they have reached out to us, and we're in the process right now drafting a sales agreement with them. It's not a matter of us not doing it. We are doing it, and I believe that we were doing it to the standard. You know what I mean, and to the past baseline that has been acceptable. Had I known that is not acceptable, we would never have done that. We're not sitting here fighting for this company, and we're gonna delay it by 3 weeks. You know what I mean? Or 2 weeks and fall out of line. If we didn't have a different understanding of it, and that's the truth.
Where are you?
I can only.
Where are you in updating your post-closure plan, so that if the state were to take action, where is your post-closure plan at? Have you responded to Bob Peterson's comments and made the adjustments that he's asked you to make?
Our professional engineer, who is a local guy, is working on that currently, and he is bewildered, and he's actually sent it out to a third party because he can't understand why he does closure and post-closure permits for facilities all the time, and feels like that this is, he just can't understand why they're not accepting what he sent to them. He's put his stamp on it.
Right.
And so same.
The reason they're not accepting him, Mr. Bradshaw, is because CDPHE gave you very specific comments that they asked you to respond to. Have you responded to those comments?
So our professional engineer, again, is working on that currently. He has sent it out to a third party, and he is responding to it.
Okay.
Mr. Bradshaw, this is Commissioner Ertel. At our last juncture with your company, you said you had a contract, or were going to engage your company in a contract to sell compost to another company that was going to distribute your compost. Did that get completed, or are you still in the negotiating of that contract?
No, we're not in negotiation. We are in the stage of finalizing a sales contract. So that was actually a letter of intent. I forwarded an email to the commissioners last week from the buyers, the potential buyers. And that letter of intent came in July of last year, I believe.
Yes.
That's when the season ends. And so their email expressed that they are still going to be buying from us. And their apologies, and it was addressed to the commissioners. I don't know if you received that or not, or if you saw that, but I did send that off.
I think we had some letters of intent, Mr. Bradshaw, that we didn't have signatures on. It took us about a month to get an appropriate letter of intent with the appropriate names. I mean, Mr. Bradshaw, everything that we do with you seems to have some kind of contingency that nobody seems to understand why we're not really doing what we're supposed to be doing. And I think you've drug us down this road. I'm getting tired of getting drugged down this road with you. You keep promising things that you never produce. You do a lot of promising and no production. And I think here we are 6 months down the road, and nothing really has changed, Mr. Bradshaw. You don't have a sales contract. You don't have anything you promised us you were going to have 6 months ago. And I think we're just dilly-dallying in the same way we were back then.
I'm sorry that you feel that way, and I can understand why you feel that way,
well,
surely.
I'm glad you can, because that's the way it appears to me.
Can you tell us, Mr. Bradshaw, why when you sent the original letter of intent, it wasn't signed, we had to send it back for a signature, and then we had to send it back to you for a date after that? There was no date or signature on your letter of intent?
Because it came to me unsigned. I was forwarding it to you straight from the source, and didn't catch it. It was one of those things. Get me your letter of intent. I need to send it to these guys. He sent it to me unsigned. I just didn't catch it, and I sent it to you. And that's the answer. I apologize. And as soon as it was caught, I sent it back to them, and they signed it and sent it back. I apologize. I know looking at us, we seem like we're doing nothing, but we are doing something. We're working towards getting this thing done. Trust me, guys, it would have been a lot easier 5 years ago to just close the thing and cost our $100,000. A lot less expensive, a lot less time. We're trying to do the right thing. We're not just sitting here putting our hands up and toying with you guys and feeding you a line of BS.
Well,
that's not what we're doing here.
Mr. Bradshaw, this is Commissioner Kendall again. I just want to, make you absolutely certain that you realize that your clock is ticking, and when the time runs out, the time runs out. There's, in my opinion, there is no more. You can't be 2 weeks late. When the clock runs out, the clock runs out. Do you understand that?
I absolutely understand that, and I apologize sincerely.
As long as you understand that.
No, I completely understand that.
So I just talked to Mr. Mont, and he said that he's not interested in buying it. He's interested in buying the material, but not buying the business.
Yes, absolutely. That's what he's buying. That's what the letter of intent's for.
Yeah.
So has he given you an amount, a guarantee, or a
his understanding? So we have about his feeling is about 50,000 yards a year.
A feeling is
We've
not a
also, in our
contract.
sales-
A feeling is not a
sorry?
contract.
No, I understand that. His letter of intent was for 50,000 yards a year annually, I believe. The discussions that we've had for our sales agreement is that they would do the screening. They would come down, they would send down screening and start doing our screening for us at a discounted rate for selling to them. And that's what they've given us. So they asked us as of yesterday to send them the sales contract. So it moved from letter of intent to sales contract. They told us, quote unquote, and you can ask Mr. Motzis if you'd like. He has the golden egg. That's what he'd said to us.
Do you have a do you have a signed sales contract yet?
No, because the reason we don't have a signed sales contract is he literally just asked me for a sales contract last Monday. We had a conference call with him when we could all be on the call yesterday, and we promised him one by the end of day today.
So he
it's just a draft that basically the contract is just defining who our current customers are, so that they don't go after them, and it leaves us, or it leaves them open to bringing in new customers without us kind of quote unquote poaching them, right? And that's what the sales contract is, and so it's going to have a dollar amount and not a quantity.
Oh, so you're not talking 50,000 cubic yards or whatever your original letter of intent was.
The letter of intent still stands. The sales contract, they can't. No one. I mean, I think the sales contract will say that. Yeah.
Matt, let me just let us address it. So with our materials, it's what Mr. Moses is actually going out, and he's attempting to sell it along with the other products that he does. So he has been, over the past 6+ months, prospecting, and he believes that he's very close. So that's why we had the call yesterday. Basically, what he wanted to define was who are 49 Square's current customers, and then make sure that we had a list so that it wasn't something that if, in fact, that customer knew that we were the source of the materials, that we wouldn't go around him and his efforts. And so with that, that's what we're working on right now. The expectation is that we will sign that, but it's a protection for him and his business that he's invested the time and energy to go out and sell that. He does not know what the quantities would be, nor is he willing to make a financial guarantee that says I'm going to definitely buy this until he has those agreements in place. So he's working on that as we speak, and I think he'd be happy to talk to everyone here about what he's in fact doing it once we have, including who he's talking about, because we've even talked about who it is. So we have no intention of doing anything other than being a good partner with him to get that in place and done, because it's in all of our best interests to get this business moving in the right direction.
So this Commissioner Sukley, he actually shared with me who he's talking with, and I would say that would be a reputable buyer of the material. I'm not going to say who he told me, because then that would affect the negotiation that's taking place between the two companies. My question is to the county attorney about the what takes place if the certificate of destination was pulled. What is the consequences of that? What would the consequences of that be on a future selling of this product?
CDPHE requires the certificate of designation. My assumption is that if we pull it, they're going to shut this place down.
It'll go to a closure.
Yes. They don't have to, but that's why I think they were requesting that we pull it, is because they believe it'll give them leverage legally in shutting it down.
Because they don't feel like the CDPHE feels like that this 49 Square is not in compliance with their requirements and what they require through CDPHE.
Yes, I mean, they've made that very clear
Clear, I
over
knew
the
that,
last couple of
yeah.
years.
Through the baseline. They don't have a baseline established for the water,
Yeah.
for the water quality.
Our CDPHE, I mean, our certificate of designation is required by law, and we're allowed to put extra burdens or rules in there. We really didn't. We just, we made it as simple as possible.
Yeah.
And we essentially did it so they could operate through CDPHE.
Let me make a suggestion, and then let's have a discussion. What if the commissioners were to give and I know we just keep doing this over and over again, but what if there was a date that you have got to get this contract with Mr. Mott complete? The thing that is I know how much material over there that there is, and that material is going to gain because we have Aspen Wallwoods open again, so they're creating more material, which I don't know if it's going to go there or where it's going to go, but if what Mr. Mott has could move that material, but if this date wasn't met for this transaction to take place, then we would be left with no alternative but to yank the certificate of destination. What do you?
I'm beyond that. That's between them. That's their business. Our business is just looking at the compliance issues of being either in or out of compliance. We gave them the designation to work with them to be able to go to CDPHE, and we can't get the 8 quarters established, so.
We gave them a year, and this is the 6-month review. So there kind of already is a date set. It's July of
That's
of
what
20
it
years.
is. The date has already been
Yeah,
set,
yeah.
so that's why I made the statement of the clock is ticking.
So you're saying that July is the year, or are you saying that
July
right
is the
now?
month.
Huh?
This is the 6-month review, but we gave them 1 year. We're at a 6-month review to see if they're doing what they're supposed to do.
Okay. So that if we gave them a year, then that means there's 6 more months.
That's
Correct.
correct.
Yeah, I think that's why Commissioner Candelaria said that we're midway through that 1 year that we gave them, and that we're fully in expectation of them meeting all the parameters of that certificate of designation and getting their quarters in line so that they can establish a baseline for their water qualities and their contaminations. And the contract with Mott's and that is completely outside of what I'm talking about. Yeah.
I don't wanna bring that into any
Yeah.
relevance for
Yeah.
our decision. It's not.
Yeah. So I think, Mr. Bradshaw, what you need to know today is that I think the commission are in full agreement that if come July, you do not have everything, I'm hoping with CDPHE as well as with our certificate of operation in compliance with all of that, we are going to pull that certificate. Or that's my intent.
Did you hear that, Mr. Bradshaw?
Yeah, yes, I did hear that. Yes, I did hear that.
Good. That's all I think we all need to know.
All right.
Mr. Bradshaw, this is John Baxter. I'm the county attorney. I mean, for me, it would make me much more comfortable if you actually got a written endorsement from CDPHE saying that you were in compliance, rather than us listening to you and CDPHE justify why you are or are not in compliance.
Yeah.
I think it would be cleaner if you get something in writing from CDPHE that says that you're in compliance and they endorse us not pulling the certificate of designation.
Yeah. Very, very well put.
And I
John.
would agree with that also.
All right.
Yep.
Any further discussion, Commissioners?
Not for me.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bradshaw. Please get in compliance, or you know what the alternative would be in July.
Yes, sir. Thank you, gentlemen. Bye-bye. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yep, thank you.
All right. Back to the agenda. We have signatures for a Mylar planning.
Everybody stay right where you're at, yeah.
Do we have anything from the planning department at this time? No. All right, thank you. Next on the agenda, we have public comment. If you would like to address the commissioners, if you'd come up to the podium, state your name and address. The commissioners are here willing to listen to you.
Well,
Sure you can,
it's
Ann.
open to the public, young lady. There you go.
Works?
Yep, you're on.
Cool. Well, as you know, it's been, what, a whole year of trying to get where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
We did raise the $275,000. We're continuing to raise money, so we have 3 grants that we're working on. Because it's, you always have cost overruns. And we found out that actually doing the displays is going to cost us a little more. So in order to keep with the DOLA grant, we agreed that we would be doing something, have some activity, and we advertised. We were in the paper for 4 times. We had a contractor's walkthrough yesterday. We had 16 people there, which is amazing, and I love it because it shows that there is competition. We asked them to get any questions they have to the architect by the end of the month, and then she will answer them, and then we'll get contracts. Well, they submit their bids the 12th of February. But in the meantime, I've got to come up with a contract to sign with them. And do you want to sign it, or do we sign it? Does it have to be since it's your building, does it?
That would be a question for John.
I'm thinking that you might be able to, but can I see the contract first?
Well, I want you to write the contract.
Guess what, John?
Actually, what can we go through our RSB?
We can probably do that.
Is there a boilerplate contract, or, well,
We can, hopefully, I don't know, I've never used it, but.
We can also use an AIA document.
that'd be great.
Some fashion or other, we'll get you a contract.
Okay, I'll connect with him then.
Yeah, we would like to, Commissioner Tell and I would sure like to step foot in that thing complete before January of this year.
Oh, it'll be finished before January. I asked the contractors that were there yesterday if we could count on a museum by August, and they said yes.
Nice.
But see, that's what, if they start the 1st of March, that's, my time's up, I'm sorry.
No.
We took some of it.
Yeah, you took some questions. If they start the 1st of March, August or September is less than 6 months, or right at 6 months, so there's not that much to do.
Well, why don't you get with John and we'll see if we can help you with the contract.
Okay.
As Commissioner Tell said.
Okay,
So
let's see if
started on that.
anything else. No, that answers my question. See, I'm almost under 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Thank
Good.
you.
And I hope you get a good estimate, a good bid from your contractors, and we are anxious to see you get that started.
Well, thank you. We thank you for your support too. We held out the flooring and the plumbing, and we're going after separate contracts for those because I know, and this isn't disparaging, Jim, it's just I know that there's a percentage put on top of every contract, and so I was trying to hold down the cost, and that way I can save 10% on the electrical or on the flooring. and 10% on the plumbing. We had that change order that we put into the city to change the ADA restrooms that are there. And that, of course, will cost us some extra money. But it at least, it gives us a water fountain up front, and it gives us concealed doors to the restrooms.
Is the city being very cooperative with you and trying to help you in getting this project
Absolutely,
done?
yeah.
Great. That's good.
They have been. There's a Shane, is that his name, or a Sean? Sean? Yeah, he's been working with the architect on that. And every time she takes something in, he signs off.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, being me, I think about things and then I think, no, that'd work better if I did this way. And so then I ask her about changing it, and it costs me architect's time, costs her time. That's not a smart way to do this. But when you build a house, you do it all at once. Well, I haven't been doing that down
All
here.
right, well, we appreciate everything.
It's going to be beautiful.
Yeah,
Yes,
we're
it
very
will.
excited.
Yes, it will. We're very excited about it.
One guy told me yesterday it would take 200,000 just to do the front. And there were two other people standing there and they said, what? No, you can do that for less than that. And so I imagine the contracts will be about that.
All right, well, thank
Thank
you,
you.
Ann.
Thanks, Ann.
Thank you. We changed the batteries. Is there anybody else that would like to speak public comment?
Thank you, Planning Department.
No. Nobody else?
Okay.
Okay, then we're going to go into the E911 update, and actually, we're going to have our administrator, Mr. Powers, is going to be presenting the update that we,
So
continuation from last week, correct?
That's correct. And so the commission had asked Lori Johnson to go to the Dolores County Board of Commissioners and to get them to agree with what we're doing and get them on board, since the E911 serves all of them. And they don't meet till tomorrow. So she's been unable to do that.
Oh.
She has what she needs. She sent me an email confirming that, saying, yep, this is what we need. Hopefully I'll get it signed by the Dolores County Commissioners.
So it's just on hold.
All right, then we'll just wait another week for that, so that we get that complete. And we will go with our emergency management plan bid update from Mike Pasquin. And that actually is, this is a continuation from last week as well, Commissioner Tell.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, just a quick update. Last week I talked about, we went out for the RFP for the hazard mitigation plan. And we only got one bid, unfortunately. It was from Wood. It's a contractor who is actually really good at doing mitigation plans. They've done like 30 of them in Colorado, and they've done 200 other mitigation plans throughout the country. So it really came down to a couple options. We could either go back to Wood because they came in at $42,875, and the most we had to spend was $35,000. So we could go back to them and ask them to resubmit their bid, or we could just re-advertise and go back out from scratch. So I did contact them, and then the next day they got back to me, and they agreed to $35,000. So, due to my superior negotiation skills.
Nice going, Mike.
Well, not really. I just think it's a really good company. I've called around. I've checked with a number of people. They even did the update to the state mitigation plan. So they're a good company. Their offer is actually $34,995, and that's coming in under, and it's not to exceed that amount.
Yeah.
So overall they cut their costs 18.5%. So I would just like, with your recommendations,
Well,
just
I
to
would-
proceed.
On behalf of the commissioners, we want to congratulate you on doing a fantastic job in negotiating.
Well,
Back to the commissioners, What's your pleasure?
I believe that was all we were asking you, because the 42,000 we were not gonna accept. We were gonna go back out to bid as of our discussion last week. So as long as they're within our budget and slightly.
And are going to provide us with all the necessary mitigation work. I don't want them to shorten this 18% just because they dropped their bid by 18%.
No, and that's a really good point. But the plan has to get approved by FEMA, so their reputation is on the line too. So even though they made those cuts,
Yeah.
we've got to go through FEMA. And, you know, talking more with the state PLC for the mitigations plans, we went back over our notes and everything from the last time, and we actually did come in somewhat on the low side when we had the 35,000, and we were fortunate in that they're letting us use 8,000 of in-kind funding as well. So it's all really good. I think it's going to work out for the
All right.
best.
Well, commissioners would,
So I would move that we accept the proposal of not to exceed the $35,000 for the emergency plan,
Hazard mitigation plan.
hazard mitigation plan.
I'll second that.
there's been a motion and a second to approve the contract with, is it Woods? Did I-
Wood, yeah, well, yeah, it's,
Would, for the hazard mitigation plan not to exceed $35,000 for 2020 Montezuma County. All of those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
yeah, it's Wood Environmental and Infrastructure Solutions is their name.
Okay. All right.
Great.
Any other questions, Commissioner, for emergency manager?
I have none. Thank you for reaching back
Get it
out
done,
to us.
yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
All right, now we're going to go back to the county attorney on a state-county wildfire agreement update, which is another thing that we brought forward from last week. So questions unanswered.
Nothing's changed. We told them that what we wanted, and they have not confirmed that they're going to do that or told me anything differently. I mean, I have not reached out to them since last week,
Mm-hmm.
but, no, we haven't heard that they've accepted the proposed changes.
So you might fill Commissioner Tell in on the contract and what it said and your concerns that.
They weren't, make or break concerns as far as from my perspective. The sheriff had a contention with one of the sections.
Chapter 9.
Yeah, section 9 that requires non-ag, and there's another exemption from it, but people doing burns to come up with a plan first. That was the sheriff's concern. I feel like he got past that. It's required in the statute anyway, so having it into the contract wasn't going to really change anything.
Yeah.
There was a couple minor things that I had suggested, hey, I'd like to change the venue, which requires that if there's any litigation over this between the state and us, the litigation happens in Denver. And I said, why is that in there? It should be here.
Good
And
call.
there was I asked for a reciprocal cause that basically said, well, if the state didn't budget for it, they're not going to be liable for anything. And I said, right, exactly, same thing for Montezuma County. That's all. And they said, okay, we can probably make those changes. I don't know if they said we can probably make those changes. They didn't seem offended by those requests. Said they would take that back to somebody and tell us if that was okay.
So you're just waiting to hear on those corrections that you made, whether they're in agreement with them or not, so.
Right.
All right, so we usually get things done, but apparently we've got some things that need to be caught up before we can make a decision on these 3 items. So we're going to go back to the liquor license renewals with Jerry.
Do you want me to reach out to them and say, hey, what's
Yes.
the, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Just find out a date.
Yeah, just say, we'd like to get this put to bed and let
Alright.
us know if there's any hitches in what we presented to you.
Okay.
Yeah. 'Cause the longer things go, they get forgotten.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Good
how are
morning,
you?
Jerry.
Good. I have 3 liquor license renewals. The first one's for a Hilltop Liquor located at 27963 Highway 184, Dolores, Colorado. And the second one is for Westview RV Resort, 12092 Highway 145 in Dolores. And the third renewal is for Woody's Food Stores at 158 South US Highway 160 in Cortez.
And is there any issues with any of the,
No issues at all. We've got the letters from the sheriff's office saying that they have no problem with any of these that we have got done. And I
Right.
have sent everything to the attorney.
Then I would make a motion that we approve the liquor license renewals for Woody's Enterprises, Western RV Resort, and Hilltop Liquor Stores.
And I would second that.
motion and a second to approve the liquor license renewals for Woody's Enterprises, Western RV Resort, and Hilltop. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Right here at the very bottom, correct?
Mhm.
All right. There's one. Okay, Mr. Reed, we have the Four States Ag Expo next on the agenda. How you doing, Spark?
I'm good, thank you.
Morning, Spark.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your time this morning.
Good morning.
Can I stand?
Yes, you can.
It's heartful to stand up and sit down. So, again, thank you. I'm here for the Four States Ag Expo. And I got to thinking this morning when I was getting prepared to come down here, other than the Ute Mountain, I think this event is the next oldest community county event in the county.
Other than the
And
county
am I
fair.
wrong? 38 years, can you?
County fair has been going on longer than that.
Well, that's different from a
Oh,
public
okay.
event. That's different from a public event. No, that's for the kids.
Oh, okay.
So, anyway, I am here for the Four States Ag Expo. And we need sponsors, always need sponsors. And then we count our gate, at $5 a hit through there. Last year was an absolute wreck, if you'll remember the weather. We were dealing with 6 to 8 inches of snow, slush, mud. Couldn't get anybody out there. So we're changing the face of the expo a little bit this year. We're going pretty much strictly back to ag. We've got an oil company coming in from California. We have prairie dog people coming in from Kansas. We have a lot more ag people coming in. And again, we're pushing the youth. I don't know if you guys have ever been out to our ag-exceptional rodeo for our challenged kids. Absolute hoot. We get 40 to 45 kids from all around the area. We've went out to Utah, New Mexico, trying to get a few kids to come in from there. But for 5 hours, dealing with those kids, we have to put them in an arena because we can't control them. They're going wild on us, so we got to shut the gates. Increasing our youth activities, we'll have a livestock barn for the kids. The FFA chapters from around the area are really stepping up and helping us out on that. And then for the adults, we're going to have a tractor rodeo. Excuse me. Age groups 15 to 18 and then 19 above. So come out and check your skills, see if you can still drive a tractor. And then we're going to have a Cowboys playground, which is going to be fantastic. You need to come and see it. So I am here asking for sponsorship funds again. I left a package with Kim. I think she got it to Shaq. It's the different participation levels that you want to go into. And anything and everything will help. My recommendation is to figure the greatest amount you feel comfortable giving and then double it, just immediately. But I see you weren't running the clock on me, but that's
No,
it.
you're not on the clock here.
Yeah,
You're on the agenda, bud. When you're agenda, you get all the time you need.
That,
comment.
I just wanted to present that. Do you have any questions for us?
Have we donated in the past?
Yes, you have.
Yeah.
I don't think we did last year, but I don't know about other years prior to that?
You were at 5,000 for a while, and then you cut it back to 25, and I think that went to the Ag Exceptional Rodeo. Like I say, I've got the participation amounts with Shaq. We'll take anything,
I got you. Yeah.
so.
How much do you charge for a space?
It's been anywhere from $550 to $600. Are you talking about the vendor spaces?
Yes.
It's been $550 to $600. We backed those off $100 right at the start of the year. And then others, we've backed off another $50 if they take more than two spots. We're trying to make it feasible for everybody to participate out there.
So that actually, being out there last year was one of the complaints, was that they felt that the vendors' spots were too expensive.
Yeah, they were too expensive, so we took on that challenge right away.
Have we done any, and Sparks, shame on my memory, have we done any in-kind relief on the facility use and stuff to the Ag Expo with you guys? Have we?
Tanner was awful good on the panels and some of the arenas, cost that way. Larry was very good last year with the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we've had some in-kind stuff, and we really appreciate it.
Okay.
We actually have Larry in the back of the room, so
Yeah.
he could probably answer any of those questions that we have directed toward him. I mean,
He's sitting back there casing me.
Larry, you have any idea? I mean, I know it's probably hard to come up with a dollar amount on things that time and equipment and labor that you may donate to help the Ag Expo come off, but
Yeah, we donate almost all the
every.
equipment and time and stuff. A couple of years ago, you guys did buy the gravel,
Yeah, we want gravel.
some gravel out there on the west side of the building,
Uh-huh,
and we in-kind traded that.
yeah,
I think that's been the only in-kind trade that we've
ever done,
like the Ute Rodeo does. I think that's the only one that we've ever.
yeah.
But yeah, we don't charge for, I mean, in the paperwork, it says we can charge for skid steer, water truck. I mean, we don't charge for,
Yeah.
they come in the week before, Saturday before, mark booth, we don't charge for the 3 or 4 days previous to starting.
Mm-hmm.
All right?
Well, we'll look over your request amounts and come up with a decision for you,
And I
Spark.
think you guys did, I don't remember how many years ago, Tanner's still there, you guys did donate some money or
Yeah.
sponsor some money or.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that last year you didn't, but previously you have. And like I say, after last year, we got a hole in our pocket
Yeah.
from out there, so.
All right, well, we hope things are successful this year, that things
Oh,
turn
we do
around.
too, we do
We-
too.
We want to continue with the Ag
Yeah, that's
Expo in Montezuma
way
County. for
too
sure.
way too good a function out there to let it
Yeah,
get
that's,
away from us.
we've taken it on and we've changed a lot of things. We're
Yeah.
trying to get back to primarily ag and get the county back involved and stuff, so.
All right, well, we'll mull it around and
Yeah,
we'll
we'll
have a
get you an
decision
answer.
here in the future.
Thank you very much.
Yep, thanks,
you.
Spark.
Jonathan Parker, Senior Health Services.
Did make it in here, did you? Does that hurt your face?
For those in the crowd that don't know, Jonathan Parker is our director over the senior services over in the annex.
Morning, Commissioners.
Area Agency on Aging and Senior Center.
Yeah,
Yeah.
appreciate it. Just a couple of brief updates. The commodities we know has been an issue. And I met with Lori Hall, who runs the Share House, which is the building where the food bank is. And we had been in discussions prior, but we feel really confident going forward that they're going to actually take over the commodities program totally. We're kind of shooting for, at the earliest, a March kind of a transfer. I'm not sure as far as the program itself, what we need to do just paperwork-wise or what they need to do. But April at the very latest, we're kind of hoping it ties in around the same time as the kitchen remodel gets done. It would just kind of be all good to kind of
So
get it all done.
Jonathan, what about storage? So we have those storage units, cold storage there at the
Right.
fairgrounds. Would they need those, or do we need those any longer?
So my understand, so the way the Share House is also involved in the Mancos commodities. The way Mancos does theirs is when the truck comes in, it goes out that same day. So they don't use a cold or a freezer storage. And I wasn't willing to say there are those because those are county properties. So there is a potential that they may need the cold and the freezer storage. I just didn't want to be in the position to say, if you take over, if that's something you wanted or needed, I don't know what the county's position would be on that, and that wasn't in my.
Well, we've had
purview.
discussion as commissioners of moving them actually out to the.
Yeah, we.
Get
new
them
building.
closer
Get them closer to
in
I don't know
town.
that. So her and I are meeting February 13th. Again, we're just gonna kind of hammer out the details, logistics. I'd be more than glad to at least let her know that's something that she could, come to the county for and maybe ask if that's something.
Well, we'd
Yeah, I'd like to.
have them just do that.
Well, I mean, if we could just get rid of them,
Yeah,
that
if we
would
get
be-
rid of them,
Yeah.
we'd rather do that.
That was my assumption.
Yeah, yeah, and I'd like to see her take on how she plans to take this over and do the same consistency with what you've done in this commodity giveaway and stuff, and see how she plans to run that. I'd like to see her plan.
Well, I think that was the most critical point for us is when you see how they do the commodities out there, it's very smooth. It's
Yeah.
very efficient.
Good.
It's quite a system they have in place with the little conveyor belt, how the food is boxed, packaged, and handed off. And that
Yeah.
was kind of something I had told her. She needs to go out there and take a look and at least see how it's done. And then somehow try to mimic that.
So Jonathan, we asked Larry to come back so
Yeah.
that he could give us a little bit of knowledge about the cold storage. How long is supplies in there? What's the logistics if those went away and the commodities program continue?
Do what now?
For the
I don't know if I
coolers,
remember what I just said.
for the coolers that we're using right now on the south side of the fairgrounds that we use for the commodity
Yeah.
storage, we have 2 coolers out there, 2 freezers,
Yeah, one freezer, one cooler.
and 1 cooler.
Yeah.
So, if we're gonna get ready to hand this off to a different agency, then if we could, basically how does that work out there right now with the?
Well, right now, like yesterday, the truck came in from Colorado Springs, Denver, somewhere, and we're there, so we unloaded it. Usually around noon, 1 o'clock, he shows up. So this morning, why I'm running late is because we delivered the commodities to the senior boxes, into to the senior center. Anywhere from 2 pallets, I think there were 60-something boxes today, 62. So we usually deliver them the day after we receive the food. And then usually Lori will set up a year in advance, a Saturday, that they give away the commodities themselves out there.
Let me just clarify real quick too. So there's 2 food programs that are giveaways. One is the commodities and one is the senior boxes.
There we go. We
So
got 2 programs going, right?
The
Okay.
senior box is separate, and
That's-
that's the program we would keep. That is tied into some numbers, and that's a real simple, I don't know if it's simple for these guys, but they drop off about 70 or 80 boxes. It's about a standard size,
Apple box.
yeah, exactly, filled with, cereals and stuff, and then it's picked up. Same day it's delivered. That is actually something that would stay with us, at least in the interim. I'm not sure down the road, but that is separate. The commodities is the big one. That's the one with the truck coming into the pallets.
They
and-
come the same time.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, we unload them
Same truck?
all, same truck. So, I mean, if you're doing one, you unload them both, because
Okay.
usually
Okay.
they're at the exact same time. They go in the same, the commodities, the senior boxes don't go in the cooler and don't go in the freezer.
Because they're not,
They go straight into the.
They're dry
Hot
goods.
Yeah, they're
Right.
dry.
Gotcha.
I mean, if we're gonna keep them for a while, we'll put the cheese in the cooler.
Mm-hmm.
But usually the next morning we deliver them.
Same day, yeah.
So we wouldn't necessarily need to have the coolers then if she took over the commodities program.
The commodities you need it. Senior boxes, no.
Mm-hmm. Right.
If the commodities goes, then you don't. I mean, unless it's other issues.
Which is what she's looking at, is just the commodities, not the senior
Not
boxes
the senior
at this time.
boxes, and that's really not that's a totally separate.
That's your purview.
Yeah, thanks.
Because there usually one pallet will go in the freezer and one pallet will go into the cooler of the commodities. Like yesterday, I got cauliflower, and a roast and a, pork. They go in the freezer. There's usually always something goes in the cooler for the commodities.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We're just gonna have to wait and see what you get done with Lori.
Yeah,
And then-
well, I'll visit with her, and my hunch is they would be interested in, because the way her program is set up and designed, and she's given several presentations. The idea of the share house is for to be a community place where people can both give food or have food, and yet for others to come pick it up. In other words, a share house, sharing food for the community. Our program works good with theirs because of a grant to the Colorado Health Foundation for them. So I know they're gonna be working this spring and summer with farmers to also bring food into their facility. So it works out good, and my hunch is the cooler and freezer would be something I won't speak for her, but I'll keep you informed on that.
Okay.
Jonathan, let me be clear. Our commodities giveaway is not tied to any age category or senior program.
It's actually not.
It's not, okay, because see, I was not completely clear about that. For some reason, I thought it was tied to senior or AAA people.
I would agree that I was also, I'm clear with where the program is at, and it's not tied to AAA, it's not tied to funding. In fact, there's some reasons where it really can't be tied to at least one of the grants that it was under. So I think all the grant is in the past. It was a 2019, the community service block grant we get. That's all cleared out. And going forward, I don't see any issues where we're gonna lose funding or it affects in fact, I've already spoke with the community service.
So there are no age categories tied to it?
No, they just come in, there's
purely income based.
nothing. You can come in, sign your name, and walk off with a commodity.
Right. Commissioner, do you have anything else for Larry? Thanks, Larry,
No,
for
sir.
coming back.
Thanks,
Sorry
Larry.
about that.
I'll run this time.
Yeah, get away from us. Anything else?
You still have your
Jonathan?
phone on.
Just real quick, just on the kitchen remodel, I just wanted to let Commissioner Candelaria, he had requested that I go to the sheriff's office and look at the kitchen, and myself and Linda Germain, one of our staff, went over there yesterday and took a look at it, and definitely got some good ideas, some good thoughts, and not so much set up at the equipment, how it's laid out. Some of the things they do is separating the produce and the meats, cross-contamination. Basically the same setup and ideas that we had planned or intended for, but to see it visually was good. It was actually a really good visit, so.
So where are we at on the RFP?
I think she just sent that to us.
I haven't seen it yet, Commissioner.
Well, I saw it, I think Friday she sent
Okay.
it. So I just had, it's printed in there, and I was gonna actually go over it with you two
Okay.
today. So it is, I have a printed copy in there. We can look at it, review it, and then get it to you. And if we're ready to go, I think we have the RFP is ready.
I still haven't seen the specs for it that she said would be available here.
So the construction docs then is all we're real close. We're still gonna hit our target date of starting the remodel March. I think you said March 1st or somewhere right in there.
Okay.
That first week.
And I'm meeting with the folks from the American Legion for kitchen use, because we still have to put meals out. So I spoke with them just last week, and then we're gonna be meeting coming forward. They're real positive as far as initial talks of using their kitchen, so we don't have to go to Dolores or figure something else
great.
out.
And these were also the dates that Jonathan and I were talking about, so that he knew how much time he had to give to whoever other kitchen,
Yeah.
to give them enough time so that we planned this so that the remodel was happening in that time frame that their kitchens weren't being used. So that's where we kind of set tentatively the March date so that they have the month of March to get it done.
And we feel good about it. We've ordered some new to-go containers that are gonna be much more simple and easier than the system we have. So we feel pretty comfortable we can survive it.
All right, well, then it just sounds like once we get those specifics, that we'll look them over and then get them over to you for your opinion on everything about that, and we'll move forward. Commissioners, do you have anything else for Jonathan at this time?
You might stop in, I believe that the planning department have a copy of that right now.
Okay.
So before you leave, it's printed out, actually on paper where you can look at it.
I'll do it. Okay. All right, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, at this time, we have the Department of Social Services. I believe Gina is absent.
Bronchitis.
Oh, bronchitis. So we have Lori Higman and Mrs. Everett. So they're going to come up and give us a presentation for the social services today. Thank you, Lori.
Thank you, ma'am.
They just handed us the financials for the month of November.
November and December.
So what did we do? We missed a month? Is that, Or is it-
December because we didn't have any
Because
meetings
the
in the
last
latter
two
part of
meetings in
December.
December,
Okay,
we
I
weren't
got
here.
A little slow. Pardon me. Commissioners, you have any questions over the record of proceedings or the financials?
I don't see any.
I do not. I think that we
Okay.
can.
I would move for the approval of the record of proceedings for the Montezuma County Department of Social Services for the months of November and December, as well as their financial statements for November and December 2019.
Second.
Motion is second to approve the records of proceedings for the Montezuma County Board of Social Services for the month of November and December of 2019, as well as the financials for the Montezuma County Social Service Department for November and December of 2019. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. It has Commissioner Tell's name on here. Do we just have him sign this? Why it's got his name on there
For 19?
for 19?
I
Make it
think
easier, wouldn't it?
That's fine. It doesn't matter, especially if you guys agree.
Oh, actually, this one. Go for it.
For 2020, Commissioner Sukla will be the chair.
Okay. I'll let them date them.
Do you girls have any, ladies have anything for us?
Nope.
Nothing at all? Wow.
Everything's
Okay.
just working like a well-oiled machine?
It is.
Well, I can tell you there's a lot going on in your field because Commissioner Candelaria and I spent a whole 2+ hours on social service, the new bills that's being brought forth at the state level. A lot of stuff going on.
Which I actually, and I'll give these to you because they have my notes on them, but I'll get them to you after the meeting
Okay.
of the new bills that are out there that are being presented right now.
Okay, thank you. We have. That was quick. All right. Thank you, Lori.
Here, Lord.
Oh, got one.
Let me just give you this whole packet, and all of my chicken scratching is in there. So,
All right, at this time, we have one of the best veteran service directors, Rick Torres, the famous Rick Torres, Montezuma County.
Happy New Year, everyone, members of the public, commissioners.
He's kind of shy for you that don't know him.
He's a little reticent. You have to prime him a little,
I try to
but.
keep a low profile. Also a short profile. That's our monthly report there. Let's see.
Yeah. How'd you end the year? Good?
Yeah, some good
Attaboy.
news.
Good.
so before you even sit down, I'll go ahead and move that we accept the Colorado
I always forget to pick that up.
The Colorado Department of Military and Veterans Affairs monthly report and certification of pay in the total amount of $7525.78.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the Colorado Department of Military Veterans Affairs County Veterans Service Office monthly report and certification of pay for the month of December. Commissioner Kindler, where did you find that? For the amount of $7,525.78. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, commissioners. We'll get that to the state.
Ms. Purcell, is there any problem with him just taking it directly? You don't need a copy of that, do you?
He sends me.
Oh, he does? Okay.
There you go, Rick.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You guys have it worked out, don't you?
I'll shut up.
Remember to email her a copy. I've yet to forget. This is tied to us getting money, so I never forget.
You never forget that one. There you
This is
go.
one I don't forget. Well, thank you for doing that, commissioners. Oh. Even though this is on the whiteboard or on the TV screen, I give one to the commissioners in case they want to write a note. Okay. I always like to compare the previous month's activities, which would have been December of 2019's activities, to the prior year. And what you will notice is in December of 2018, our office saw 230 veterans. When you look at December last month, there was a shortage of 41 veterans. We saw 189 veterans and/or their survivors. Out of those 189, there were 11 new clients. We're always happy to see our new clients. So we had a decrease of 41 visitors. That I couldn't tell you, other than perhaps because of the holiday season. You know, who knows. During the month of December, we did 16 nursing homes / house calls. We 4 community events. I'm sorry, 4 outreach events, 3 community events. In December, we filed 12 claims. VA decided 38 claims. These are old claims that were done earlier in the year. Of those 38 claims, 30 were favorable, 2 were unfavorable, they were denied, and 6 of them were continued or confirmed. They didn't either win or lose. Thank God they didn't reduce any benefits. And there's a snapshot there of monthly income just for the veterans and survivors that won claims in December. If I pooled all the resources for those 38, you're looking at $27,193 and some change new benefits coming into these veterans and survivors. If I did my math right, in a year, that would be cumulative of a little over $326,000. The back pay that those 30 individuals were granted total a little over $241,000. And I'm going to talk a little bit about one of those individuals, because I'll leave the best for last. It's like a little success story. I'm going to tease you right now with it. It was a widow. I mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned it last month, but you'll be shocked how much she got out of that $241,000. All right, I'll tell you now.
You're not much of a tease.
I'm giddy.
Can't hold on to it, can you? Yeah.
I'm giddy with anticipation. This widow, well, I'll tell you a little more about her later. $80,000 just for her. Wow. So I was excited about that. And there's a backstory to that. So on the second slide, or as you go down, I always like to do this since you guys hired a full-time county VSO. I start with 2013's activity. As you know, prior to 2013, it was a part-time position. The commissioners had the wisdom of adding a full-time employee. And so here's what happened, a little snapshot year by year. In 2014, and I'm not going to bore you with the numbers, but you can see an incremental uptick in people coming through that office. And in the end, that does also, in theory, equate to additional benefits coming to these veterans and their survivors, and in some cases, the children, depending on their entitlement to benefits. But we finished off last year surpassing our numbers, not by much, but we did break the 2,700 clients coming through that office. So we're always excited about that, putting more pressure on me to increase for 2020. I'm going to give you a brief snapshot of 2018, the year in review for 2018, and then let's compare 2019. And you can see the figures there. Monthly benefits was $175. When you compare in 2019, it was actually a little bit less, $162,000. But I will tell you this. These numbers that I gave you for December and for 2019 are probably going to be revised up, because when I do these reports for SHAC to be able to give you, I'm doing a snapshot in time, but not everybody's letters and awards have come in for December. So that was the time available. That was the data available when I did this report for the commissioners. So that's already upticked for increased benefits.
And Rick, that monthly benefit that came in 2018, unless somebody deceased, is still rolling in 2019.
Yeah, and that's the thing. A lot of these folks, they're still getting those benefits. So, you know, every year, cumulatively, those benefits go up. And sometimes during the year, depending on when the VA issues their report, I provide it for the commissioners, and it shows the billions of dollars and tens of millions of dollars that are coming in, whether it's through VA healthcare benefits to the veterans, which theoretically would hopefully save Colorado money in Medicaid costs. But those are cumulative. As veterans pass away, others move in, veterans and survivors get benefits, and so the number remains relatively high. And I share that report once the VA puts it out later in the year. So what you're looking at is last year, or 2018, 2.1 million, compared 2019, 1.9 million. Back pay, slightly less in 2019 by, I don't know, $80,000, $90,000. But we're happy with the numbers that we got. We're talking veterans and survivors that are getting the benefits that they earned through the veteran service. And what I'd like to do is, if the commissioners have any questions about, numbers can be boring, so that's why I left some
Not
of the.
those numbers.
No, these are good numbers. These are all money coming in for free services that we provide. So these are good
I would like for
numbers.
you to just let the audience know the estimate of how many veterans live in Montezuma County.
The estimate roughly, depending on which source you look at, is anywhere between 2,200 to 2,500. And those are just the ones that have asked for help that can be counted on a roll somewhere in the VA healthcare system. If there's ones that don't apply, and they're out there, and that's why I throw these numbers out there for those of you that are watching, or those of you that have a vet that have a bad taste in their mouth from when they came home from Vietnam, send them our way. They're leaving benefits usually on the table. We can usually find something that they're eligible for. And that's what Sarah, John, and I do all day long.
And that is the sales pitch. So if you know anybody out there that's a veteran, please come see Director Torres and see if we can help you out.
Yeah, I don't know who can't use an extra minimum $142 a month. That'll pay for some insurance premiums for a supplement, or as high as a single veteran is about $3,000 a month, but that's total disablement. That's pretty high. It's pretty bad too. Those are in pretty bad shape. So now I'm gonna, if it's okay, I'm gonna give you a couple of, last year, a couple of things that stand out for me. One is for this year. Effective January 1st, the state of Colorado, the legislature, I believe, does it. They approved a woman veteran license plate. So women veterans, they take their DD-214, their military discharge document, they go down to the clerks where they issue the license plates, and they can get a license plate that says woman veteran. So there is a cost for that. But there are other free plates, Purple Heart plates, disabled veterans over 50% disability, and my office helps prepare that paperwork for their office. But for the women veterans that are out there, we stand with you. Go get your, not free, go get your I think it's $25. Go get your license plate and get recognized. Couple of things. You probably saw this on the news. In December, the city council did approve renaming City Park to Veterans Park. So we're excited about that. Two more things real quick. Our local DAV chapter, I believe they did this in December, I think it was. Anyway, they renamed their chapter to Lindsay Gear Chapter in honor of Sergeant First Class Will Lindsay. And yes, and PFC George Gear. So they recognized, and the families were very appreciative of that. So a shout out to the DAV. I did put that on our Facebook. And the last thing I'll leave you is with the widow, her story. Really excited about her. This is a claim when the husband is a Vietnam veteran. The veteran was living. I've worked with him probably in 2013, 14, 15. He ended up passing away, I believe it was 2017. And with denials, we had an appeal going. We were arguing with the VA. When a veteran passes away, the VA quickly stops the process. It's over. So under the law, the VA does allow a substitute claimant. So what we do is, I advised her, we need to keep your claim alive in honor of your husband, and you become the substitute claimant. So we kept the appeal that he had going active. So eventually it goes to a law judge that reviews the entire case. This was a case where a veteran was in Thailand and was exposed to Agent Orange in Thailand. And the VA denied it, and they did it correctly, because under the law, you cannot pay veterans that are in Thailand exposure to herbicides unless you were a military policeman, okay? Yeah. So what happened with this, not to make a long story short, we argued this veteran, and he was an aircraft mechanic, he was a jet mechanic, and those guys and gals would go to the very farthest part of the runway where they would spray Agent Orange and run the engines up at full power to make sure the engines that they're replacing and removing and replacing are working right. So the VA promptly denied it, which we knew they would. The veteran passes away. We assigned her as the substitute claimant. Eventually, the law judge can do whatever they want with the evidence of record. They don't have to follow the regulation. They have more leeway. They follow the regs, but they're more lenient with these factors. To make a long story short, had he stayed alive, living, he would have won his claim. So that's where the $80,000 back pay went to the surviving spouse. That was his funds. That had the VA done it, the right thing, when he was living, he would have been able to enjoy that. So the widow ends up getting the $80,000. And what happened was, because the death was related to service, I applied a claim for her as, it's called dependency indemnity compensation. The veteran died of a service-related death, herbicides. And I think he died over 2 years ago is what it was. So she just got another $25,000 back pay for her monthly benefit, which is about, I think it's about $1,300 a month. That she would have been entitled had, when he died, I would have filed her claim, and she would have been getting that monthly check every month. So that's our success story for the day. I have a couple of widows in that situation. I got one in Farmington that I'm helping with. Her husband was at a Marine base in El Toro, California. The VA already knows going to deny it, but at that base, it ended up being a Superfund site. Those of you familiar, Superfund sites, they're contaminated bases.
With hazardous material.
Correct. So the VA is going to deny it, and I don't blame the VA. They have to follow the regulation, and they are doing it correctly. That's when we go to a law judge, because these other factors, they're what's the term? Relevant. They're pertinent facts, you know. And so those cancers, you know, they become relevant facts. So we're excited about those cases. They take years to work. They take years of patience. But I'll leave you with this. I always tell my clients, you have nothing to lose. Right now, you're getting nothing.
Everything to gain.
Apply, and we'll argue the case, and we'll build the case. And probably not as good as lawyer as he is.
And Rick, these are tax-free, aren't they?
These are tax-free funds, and so we're excited about that. And those are the days that we go home and we're all stoked and pumped up and ready for the next one. Not necessarily the deaths, but the service to our veterans and their survivors. So with that said, if there's any questions, I'll entertain them, and if not, we're going to go get back in the fight.
On behalf of the commissioners, thank you for that. That was
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you for the opportunity to serving our folks.
And that renaming was the 17th of this month.
Was it the 17th of this
Yeah,
month?
I just looked at my calendar.
Okay, whew. Yeah.
So it wasn't.
Well, I won't put it on my calendar for next month then to report it. But thank you so much for the honor and the privilege of allowing me to help our vets, their families, and we love what we do. And I couldn't do it without Sarah or John. I'd probably have a little bit less hair.
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Torres.
Remember, you have nothing to lose.
That's absolutely right.
Thank you, Rick.
Jennifer Morris
Thank you.
from the Montezuma County Transportation.
Good
Good morning,
morning.
Jennifer.
Good
You
morning.
guys.
We're good. How are you?
Good. Well, I
Good.
think we're doing really good, actually.
Good.
So I pulled some numbers for what we've deposited last year to December and what we paid out. And like I was thinking that we were going to have a little more this year to put in the bus fund because we didn't have the overhead we had last year or the year before. So I was right. We've got about 67,000 and some change that's going to go into the bus fund, which is good because I'm planning on hopefully getting some bike racks put on like we had talked about, getting some more seats put in the new bus we got because we only have 5 seats in it. I don't know what happened there. So, but there's some things that I'd like to do and probably buy another small van this year that won't go through CDOT because CDOT's already given us our money for this year and next year we'll have another van. But
Does Shaq, do you have those numbers that she has sitting there?
Not yet.
actually, I have a copy if you want one.
Yeah, could you have
Yes,
him give,
please.
so you can put it on the.
Yeah.
Is there numbers about as far as ridership? How many people are riding?
Not yet. I don't
Okay.
have all of that together. I just did my CDOT numbers, so that'll give me an idea, but I will have those next time.
Can you, since it's the first of the January, can you kind of give the audience an overview of what the MOCO is? So who uses it? What does it cost?
Yeah.
How does it work?
MoCo transportation is public. It's not just for seniors. It's for anybody that needs to ride it. We have basically in-town rides are $2 a ride. So one-way ride, $2. As you get further out, it's a little more expensive. Not much, just per mileage. I think Mancos is like $9 per, one way. Dolores is $6, I think. I don't have the numbers in front of me. But we're public, so, and I don't think a lot of people know that. We're trying to get that out. That's probably some of the money I'm going to use for that too, is some advertising, because not a lot of people still know that we're out there. We get people calling all the time, we didn't know you were here.
Or they think you're strictly senior oriented.
Exactly, they
There's a
think
lot
we're
of that.
strictly seniors, and we're not. We can take anybody anywhere. We take social services, people for social services, people for the court systems that are paid for through the court systems. So, we have grants for seniors, obviously, so that's kind of a big part of what we do. It's probably 50%.
Actually, I was hoping you would go there with the advertising, because I was wanting to open it up to everybody.
Right.
I mean, what are some ideas that we could do to advertise? I know that, what do you currently have
Is
planned?
that part of that CDOT grant that you were applying for as far as the designated
The fixed route? No.
No, that's different.
That's
so
completely
that
separate.
advertising wouldn't fall within that.
No. Well, it would for when we do the fixed route.
For
If we do the fixed route, because that'll, give us an idea of what we need to do for all of that. But right now, what I'm trying to do is get the word out. I took a bunch of flyers to the medical building, the MOB, because they didn't know we did service to Mancos. And they have a doctor shortage right now going on here. So Mancos has 2 doctors that they have there that aren't full all the time. So, they didn't realize we did that. So we're getting more Mancos clients, or more clients from Cortez going to Mancos. So yeah, we're very affordable. I mean, we do medical trips to Durango that if they're not Medicaid approved, we can do for $50. The Cortez cab is like twice that,
So how do we effectively advertise to reach more people in Montezuma County? Do we have any ideas?
I think one of the places is we can start doing them on our vans, on our actual transportation vehicles.
That's a good idea.
I think we need to wrap that. We've got, and I guess this has always kind of disappointed me, that on our vans, we just have a very small little emblem that says MoCo on there, and half the people don't even see that when they go by. But I think if we could take and find some way to maybe do advertising on our vehicles, because they're what's out and about every day in the community, all over the community. Find some way to do some kind of a message wrapping on our vans and start saying, MoCos for everybody.
Right.
It doesn't
Yeah,
say
but public,
public
right, it does not say
transportation
public, no.
It says-
anywhere.
Well, it does on that little sticker.
But it's tiny, but nobody
Right,
sees it.
but you
there.
don't see it
Someplace you
because it's so
can't
little.
see.
So I agree with Commissioner Tell. Commissioner Candelaria, what do you think about
No, I agree. I think that's great. It needs to be public and big enough where you can see it,
Right,
because
I agree.
Yeah.
And the number, just
can't
put,
see that.
yeah, no, absolutely.
I think you could get with Shane up at the
Yeah,
road shop and he could figure something out.
So could you
for
work on that? We think it's important
Absolutely.
to where we could grow the
Yeah,
transportation.
absolutely. I think even like a radio spot might be something that might be good. The TV things you guys do for Mesa TV might be something to do too.
Absolutely.
That kind of stuff.
Have you also addressed the city council with letting them know in that arena that is public transportation for the community?
I have not myself, but I'm pretty sure they do know that, because I think when we had that meeting with them that day, we did talk about it being public.
You bring a good question.
Yeah.
So do you ever meet with the city council about the?
No.
So we need to fix that. We need to have her actually go to a public meeting and
Hey, what are you doing tonight?
well,
Tonight's probably not the night.
I would think,
No.
I think it's too late for
I
tonight.
think Shaq, we need to make that happen where that she, in a public meeting with the city council, so that we can get it out there, especially with new candidates running for city council.
Yes.
We need as many people to know about the transportation as possible.
Right.
And-
They
and-
contribute financially a little bit, don't they?
Yeah, very, very minimally.
They didn't this year, but yes,
Very
they do
minimally. For
very
80% of the rides generated are generated within the city of Cortez. And I think our previous director asked them every year for $5,000 to help fund our subsidized public transportation. and I think the most we've ever gotten is $2,500 from them. So I think we're on the right track. I think Jennifer and us or whomever goes and attends those meetings at the city council meetings need to keep reiterating that this is a function that the vast majority of our work is done within the city limits of Cortez, and they, you know, I made a statement to them. They were questioning why we didn't fund the library and why we didn't fund the animal shelter, and my very rapid response was, well, you don't help fund our transportation system within the city of Cortez either, so.
Well, you said dollar for dollar, I think is the way you said it.
That's
You
what I
said,
did,
well,
yeah.
whatever dollar you put in, we'll put a dollar.
I did that, you're right, so.
Yeah.
Jennifer, could you update us on where we are with looking at fixed routes and where you are in applying for grants for that?
The grant for the fixed routes is open in the spring. So as soon as it opens up, then I will apply for that. And what that does is it's up to 50,000. You don't have to use that much. It's just as much as you need to figure out if a fixed route is going to work and how that's going to work.
Right.
So I think it's important to have fixed routes here, but to do it right, because to just say, okay, we're going to go here, here, and here, legally, we have to be ADA compliant. So that's where the studies come in, because you have to have what you need to be able to do that. So that's in the spring, early summer. So as soon as that comes out, I'm going to apply for that, and we'll get that going. So.
Now, is that fixed route, are you looking at that just internally for like the city of Cortez, or does that go to Dolores, Mancos also?
We're looking at going to Dolores and Mancos as well, because, and maybe even Durango. And the reason I say Durango is because we can bus them to Durango, and then they can do Durango's system if they want to, and then meet us back up and take them home.
So
and to me, that's important.
What is the hours of operation for Moco?
For us right now, we go from 7 in the morning to last pickup is usually at 4:30, 4:30 or 5, just depending. With a fixed route, I would like to see us go from maybe 10 or 11 in the morning for the fixed route to 6 or 7 at night, just because, you know, you got people they want to go to town to eat dinner, you know, they want to go to town to shop, especially in the summer, and the shops are open a little bit later in the summer. So I think that would probably be what we'd look at for the fixed route versus demand response. So.
Okay, Commissioner.
Good, I think you're on it.
I have no other.
But I think we can use our vehicles for advertising. A great deal of our advertising.
I absolutely agree. That's awesome. I will talk to Shane.
Look at the van that the health department has put out there with their WIC and that WIC van, and I mean it just glows. You know, wherever it's parked, you see it, and you can read it, and you know what the numbers on it are. So.
Right, and we just got that new bus. We just got it in, and it's you know, really nice. And then we're getting the 9-passenger van in, and that'd be great to put a wrap on.
Yeah.
And I don't see any of the media here today, but I'd like for you to get a hold of them to get a photo of that, and then just do a PSA of the new bus and stating that it is public transportation and that everybody can have the opportunity to utilize it.
Absolutely.
And I'll follow up with you Thursday, and we'll get with Jedediah and Mesa Media.
Okay.
And be bold on your rap. We can always tame it down, but as a marketer for auctions, you got to be able to read a phone number 65 miles an hour. So I don't know if you got a horse bucking somebody off, but something that like, whoa, what was that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'll come up with something.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll get with Shane.
Good.
That sounds good.
All right. Anything else, commissioners?
No, I think Moco's. I think our location out there. I think that's turned into just a win-win-win out there.
I agree.
Yeah, I think you're in a good spot, and I think it's working out really well. So, good on you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Jennifer.
County Attorney Report, John Baxter.
I don't know if I have any more to add other than what we've already discussed. You know, we still have Walmart and VIC, Kinder Morgan going. Been lots of filings on basically all of those over the last couple of weeks. Do you guys have any questions?
Any news on Road 41? I see that we're maybe looking at possibility of doing some FLAP or federal lands access money maybe to tie the tie the reservation on that road, maybe get some help with that roadway, with it being an access point to the tribal lands down there.
Yeah, as far as our litigation goes, our next court date isn't until May. We are set for trial. I anticipate that case going to trial.
Yeah, probably.
All right.
Okay.
Also too, just so Commissioner Tell that you, last week we had also asked John to reach out to Jovian.
Let me update on that.
Okay, well, there you go. See,
I
we did have an
still
update.
not a lot of updates on that, but I did contact, her name was Carla. She works, I think Jovian and a company called, started with a P, let me look it up. It was confusing to me. I don't have the P word there, but Jovian, I think, is the owner of that company. They may have joined forces with another oil company from Texas. I spoke with her, emailed with her. She sounded interested and surprised about the information I was conveying to her about, hey, it's a blight down there. We want to do something. We want to help you.
And what he's talking about is the N.M.P.M.
Yes.
Correct.
Sorry, I should have introduced that. And she told me this was just yesterday. She said that, hey, look, I don't make these kinds of decisions. Let me make sure that the president of Jovian contacts you. She said she was going to forward my email to him, and that she believed he would call me or respond to the email. That was just yesterday. Haven't heard from the president.
Yeah.
So that's it. I have not reached out to them in writing other than my email with contact information and what my concern was.
Okay.
So we want to keep on it. So what kind of a
so-
time frame?
Bug them
Go
again
ahead.
in a
Go
couple
ahead, Commissioner
days.
So we can bug them again, and I also sent another email to Shaq yesterday, stating that, who is our best person here that works with CDPHE that can keep moving this with them, to see what was done and what hasn't been done and where do we stand in that process. Because right now, I personally do not know, and until I find out, I don't really know, how we can move. So
who is our delegate first? Is it Jane or is it Dawn?
Well,
Jim
in the
Dietrich.
past, James Dietrich has worked on this. I've also worked quite a bit with CDPHE. The health department has worked with CDPHE. Mel works with CDPHE. So we have a lot of people who work with them. I know in the past, James has been the one who has worked specifically on this.
So if you guys don't mind, if he has the most knowledge, and maybe we could put him as a kind of the lead on this and try and resurrect it and get it back to where we get this going. I did talk again yesterday. Mr. Tietzel did call me. He said that he was actually going to call you too, Commissioner Tell, about his idea and his approach along with the tribe. And I also emailed Shaq to try and get us that meeting set up with the chairman down there. So the process is moving. It's going to try and move weekly, I hope, and see if we can get some traction to get this site cleaned up.
If I recollect correctly, we had some Brownsfield work done on that place down there. There was a guy, remember that guy that came through here and he was touting Brownsfield and stuff, and Shaq, you might look back about.
Newspaper article said that got wiped out in 17, but
Got
I'll
wiped
have
out.
to go back and double check.
Okay.
And then the other on our radar was the site east of Cortez, off of Highway Mud Creek.
Mr.
And I don't know if you were able to reach out to him at all yet or not.
I have not reached out to him.
So that was kind of from last week that we had discussed while you were.
Right, but so I think we should go ahead and reach out to him and see where that stands. Don't you,
Yes, I do.
commissioners?
I did
I
get
mean,
his
we know- I
contact
think we have an
information.
idea.
Yeah,
James.
yeah, I think the
What
last communication I recollect with Mr. McCarty, he was wanting us to sue, and he wanted to sue us, and he was after Colorado CDPHE for the contaminant. It was just one of these.
But that was settled in court, correct?
Yeah,
And he
got
won
a
his
dollar, he got a
case.
dollar for that, but then
So-
he's come back after that and talked, it's very convoluted what he's done there, so.
But it would be nice to reach out and see.
I guess find out if
something's changed.
Something's changed with him, but somebody had told me at one time they thought a bank had repossessed that property, but I don't believe that, I don't believe
don't.
that's happened because.
We did look into that. It's still under the same ownership.
Same
And I
ownership,
did
so,
get,
yeah.
from James Dietrich, the most recent contact information he had for him, but I have not reached out to him.
Okay.
And so I can't.
Okay, so looks like we're going to have, Shaq, you're going to be in contact with James to move forward on the M&M.
Yes, I will.
And anything else, Mr. Baxter?
No.
Okay, let's set the timer. We have no report from Natural Resources, so we have County Administrator report, Shaq Powers.
Okay. So first, we got an email from Lee Cloy. They will be having the Lodgers Tax Committee meeting on Sunday, January 26th at the Baymont Inn from 2 to 4. And then he notified me that his term will be finished the end of this month, so that we need to advertise for another 3-year term in February to replace Lee Cloy on the Lodgers Tax Committee. So with your go-ahead, I'll go ahead and start that.
Is he wanting to reapply?
I don't know if he'll reapply or not. He didn't say.
Didn't say.
Do you have any idea? If,
In the county?
Yeah.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, Brian, yeah.
Like, so this would be a county lodger's taxpayer?
Correct.
Versus the city?
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't know anybody,
Okay.
unfortunately, sorry.
Well, I would move that we go ahead and re-advertise that because the deadline is coming up
Okay.
The end of
pretty
this
quick,
month,
and
yeah.
we need to get it out there so that they have another member.
Yep.
So they can
I'll
function.
second that motion.
Motion is second to move to advertise for a new Lodgers Tax Committee member for the up and coming year here in January, so. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and that'll be for a 3-year appointment.
Correct.
All right, Shaq?
And then we got this yesterday. I'm not sure how you want to proceed on this, but Lee Hill said that they're a member of the Sylvan Cemetery Board. Their term expires this month, and that they've been asked to continue a 5-year term, and that Lee has accepted. We have not opened that, and I don't know if you want to open that or if you just want to leave that the way
Commissioner
it is.
Tell, what do you think? You're pretty familiar with cemeteries.
I have a feeling with the Sylvan Cemetery, the remoteness, the lack of activity at that particular cemetery and stuff, we're probably very fortunate to have somebody even want to be on that board.
Where is it?
It's west of Pleasant View, about 8 miles to the west and about 3/4 of a mile to the south,
Okay.
off that CC road, yeah.
And I would think that as many times we've did this the last 7 years for applications, that they're kind of far and few between, that we wouldn't be stepping on anybody's toes.
Oh, we have a lack of interest
Yeah, if we made
historically
a
in
decision
these.
now.
I don't believe we
So-
would, I really don't. I think Bessie White and this gentleman, I don't know who all else is on that board, but Bessie and this Mr. Hill are the two that I'm aware of, so.
Would you be interested in a motion to?
Yes, I would move that we accept the reappointment of Mr. Lee Hill to a 5-year term on the Sylvan Cemetery District Board of Directors.
Second.
Motion is second to approve Mr. Lee Hill for a 5-year term on the Sylvan Cemetery District Board. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Powers?
Okay. Next, I want to remind the public that on Monday evening, February the 3rd, that the Board of County Commissioners will be engaging in a board-to-board meeting with Empire Electric regarding the demand charges for the electric vehicle charging station that may go in at the corner of Chestnut and Montezuma. So that will be February 3rd at 5 p.m. at Empire Electric. There's also strong possibility that the county commissioners will be attending the city council meeting tonight regarding the vote on the new proposed land use code, and that the county commissioners will be participating in a town hall style meeting at the Mancos Town Hall on February 20th at 6:30 p.m.
Anything else?
Rachel asked me to help her round up her 36 cows, so I said 40. I got one courtesy chuckle.
You get one from me too.
He left me.
If you round up from 36, you get 40.
Round up.
Now they're catching on.
Will it ever end? Will it ever cease? Oh, I have a question of our administrator.
Yes, sir.
What is the start date of our financial officer that we offered the job to? And
She started. You were in Vietnam or something.
Bam! I want. Well, good. She's on the job.
She's been here 2 weeks.
Oh, great. Okay, good.
Welcome.
I
home.
thought it was sometime this month, but I was eating tarantulas and forgot.
Yeah, tarantulas.
Eating tarantulas will make you forget stuff.
Actually, Shaq, why don't you bring her out here and we'll introduce her to the public and,
That would be a good thing, yeah.
so
Okay.
that way the public
Good
also
idea.
knows.
Tell her she's got to
Gotcha.
give us a report.
As he's bringing her out here, though, I tell you what the commissioners are trying to do here. We got 5 new seats on the city council. We have went for 7 years, Commissioner Tell and I, and have not had a hard time getting to have a board-to-board meeting with the city council. We're hoping that that's going to change with these 5 new board members, and we're really going to pursue it. So hopefully that'll take place, and then we can move the county and the city together, closer together, and get some things done.
Yep.
So.
I think we'll find out with that airport project, probably that'll be right on top of the list of things we'd like to cooperatively work with them on.
Well, even these cleanup
Sure.
issues, that- because it affects us all.
Yep.
It's a community effort. It's not really just us in
City
the
or
county.
county,
It
yeah,
really
yeah.
affects everybody in the community, so some crossover there would be really good. And I think they would be on board.
Just
Okay.
some good communication.
Bring her up to the microphone.
Okay, I got a microphone right here.
Shaq,
So-
introduce.
This is Joyce Williams, and she is our new budget control officer. She spent the last 13 years working for the tribe in Toyac.
Well, I got a question for you. It's probably, how is it so far working for Mr. Powers? And you can be honest.
Wow, way to put a person on the spot.
You can actually use a different mic because he is a little close to you, so.
How funny my jokes are.
It's been really, really good. Got to meet a lot of people that I wouldn't have otherwise known, and I look forward to working with those people.
And what does our finances look like? Are we doing okay so far? So good?
So far, so good.
Okay.
When did you start, Ms. Williams? I was gone. When did you start?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, yeah. Gosh, you shipped me out of town and put her in place. I see how this works now. It's kind of what I thought. I thought the chair was adjusted a little different height than what.
No.
Well, welcome aboard. I'm really, really pleased to have you.
Thank you.
And yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We really just wanted to introduce you to the public.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Powers?
I'm done.
All right, let's go to the county commissioners report. Commissioner Patel?
I don't have a thing to report.
There's a lot of things on that phone.
I had a very interesting journey through Cambodia and North Vietnam and South Vietnam, and it was it's like the company I was with said, "You're not on vacation here, you're on tour," and they meant it. We were on some type of journey every day into cathedrals and cultural sites and historic sites, and we saw a tremendous amount in that 2-week period, both in Cambodia and Vietnam, and I took the trip thinking it was going to be more about Vietnam, or that I was going to garner more from Vietnam, and I actually garnered way more from Cambodia. Cambodia is a very, very interesting country, and we did a 2-day deal on the Khmer Rouge and the Pol Pot regime, and the things that those people, they're recognizing the 75th anniversary of the Auschwitz and the atrocities performed on the Jewish people during World War II. Well, I'm going to tell you that Khmer Rouge did that much and more to their very own people in Cambodia. It was the most ungodly thing. And good trip.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Candelaria?
Well, I had another extremely busy week. I took off Tuesday after the meeting, flew to Denver, hoping to get to Colorado Springs by dinner time. Lost my luggage, didn't leave the airport until 9:30, got to Colorado Springs at 11:30, and then had an epic class with our clerk the next day, which is elections preparedness and infrastructure and cybersecurity, which was, for me, being a commissioner, not really understanding what the election process is and what the clerks do with this cybersecurity and the IT people. It was eye-opening. They did a tabletop exercise in the morning, and we did a tabletop exercise in the afternoon, and then we got together to do a debriefing on each one of those after them. And they have a lot tougher job than any of you really know during the election cycles. And this year, with 2020 starting up, they're starting into elections immediately with the cities starting in April, and we're going to go all the way through the end of basically November. So a lot of elections. If you guys see the clerks, I'm going to say thank you all for what you do. I appreciate it. My eyes were wide open after a day of that training. I then drove back to Denver and spent the next 2 days going over legislative sessions at CCI, and I forwarded you that email, Shaq, if you want to put it on the board, of a list of the bills that we went over, just so you can see what we were discussing. We did go to Thursday night. We did have a more of a meet and greet at the governor's mansion. And what else did we do Thursday night? Anyway, a very busy day, and a very busy 2 days on the bills that we're looking at that have already hit the legislature. Like I said, I gave everything to Lori this morning so that she can get to Gina to see how we want to oppose, support, or monitor. As soon as he pulls this up, it can kind of show you what we looked at and our positions that we took at CCI. I will tell you, in that room there were 54, I believe, 54 of us in the discussion of all 64 counties, and it's a large room, and you all have a speaker in front of you. You can just talk whenever you raise your card to talk. Yeah. But there's some pretty heated discussions over these bills before it ever goes to a vote. There again, a pretty eye-opening experience for me on how this process works for our lobbyists at CCI, and also with the elections of the chair and the vice chair of the committees. And I would like to just let you all know that Commissioner Sukla was reappointed as the chair of the Public Lands Committee. Yeah. So kudos to that. Yeah. And, amen. Along with Darius Allen from Alamosa as the vice chair. But anyway, here's a list of everything that we went over, and you can kind of, I know it's super long. It was 2 days of activities. And if you'd like to talk about any of them, get with me later on. But there's a lot going on in the state right now.
What, 800 some odd bills they had at one point in time?
They're thinking they will have a minimum of 600 bills this session, and you know, who knows what the top's going to be. But there's a lot happening. And I will say, in that room, whether on both sides of the aisle, everybody was against unfunded mandates. It didn't matter what side.
I hope they live by that. I hope
was
they
just
start to learn to live by that.
Nobody wants to have any more of these mandates sent down to local government that we're going to have to figure out how to fund when we really don't have a funding source either. So it was enlightening. It didn't matter if you had a R, a D, or an I behind your name. Everybody was
that
against
was
it.
unanimity in that regard, yeah.
And it was really enlightening
Yeah.
also to hear that, because where do you get the money if you can't?
Right.
If the state's not gonna fund it and they're gonna mandate it.
Mm-hmm. So be careful what you pass in these bills and how those things can float down and affect the people you write these rules for.
Correct.
Yeah, you
And that was
you
the-
better know the
The
consequences.
best thing that I took out of there was how we were together, all of us
Good.
together.
Good.
On that. If it was an unfunded mandate, it was unanimous. We were
Mhm.
all voting it. We were all opposing the bill.
Yeah, good. That's
And I'll-
refreshing to hear.
I'll then let Commissioner Sukla.
I attended that as well. I know he lost his luggage for 2 days, but I picked the wrong day to fly home, so I didn't have a flight. Anyway, it all worked out, but I've been doing this for 7 years, going to this. They have 3, and I just like to explain how it works, which I think it's great because it's one county, one vote. So Dolores County has, Montezuma County has the exact amount of voting power as Boulder County or Weld County or Jefferson County, Adams County. So the commissioners have to work together to get those votes so that you can get, there's a 65% threshold that you have to vote for or against. And there's 3 ways you can vote. You can vote for, support, oppose, or monitor. Montezuma County has been taking the position, and this will, Commissioner Candelaria, that'll be up to him, how he would like to proceed next year. But we do not vote for monitor. We're one of the only counties that started doing that. Now there's more counties. We feel that if you vote for monitor, that you just flew one of your commissioners up to Denver, spent $500 of your taxpayer money to take a position, a non-position. You could have just stayed home. So one of the questions, there's been a big debate up there, both sides with the D or an R behind your name is, well, the statement was made because it's caused some controversy, is we don't want to offend the legislators. I laugh at that. I mean, that's what those guys, that's why they got elected. They have thick skin, and they're offended all the time. Our position is leverage. Leverage. So how do you get leverage? If you tell somebody that's writing a bill that we are not going to take a position on your bill, then that is no leverage whatsoever. So if they have a bill that if they was to amend that bill a certain way that all the counties would be on board, you would be better than to take a position of oppose with amendments. And then I guarantee you that, and I've seen it time and time again, that legislator will call up CCI, because we have multiple lobbyists that work for us, and say, hey, what do I have to do to make you folks support my bill? Because most folks don't know this, but in all of the states, one of the most effective lobbyists of every state is all the county commissioners of the state. Their organization, I think we have a ratio in Colorado, and I would say that this ratio goes throughout the United States, 85%. So if we oppose a bill, there's an 85% chance that it's not going to pass. If we support a bill, 85%. It's one of them. And the reason is your county commissioners are the ones that walk in the grocery store and see their neighbors every day. We're the ones they talk to. They know we're on the ground. And if a legislator is going against the will of their constituents, the county commissioner's got some sway. We can tell our constituents, hey, you need to call this guy or her because they're going against your wishes. That being said, I could tell you if I ever ran for one of these offices, I would make a commitment that I wouldn't do another law. I wouldn't add another law, because I think as a state rep, we got too damn many in the first place, and I would work on taking them away.
Yeah. Amen.
So,
Amen.
and there was actually a question about resolutions at public lands. I had a very strong, I barely won the chair. I ran against the ex-mayor of Gunnison and he's a commissioner there, very well-spoken, very articulate. And I believe one of the reasons that I won was that I have that attitude of, well, we just don't have to have a law. One of the things they said that we needed to do was we needed to we got to have all these resolutions. Why isn't Colorado putting forth these resolutions in Washington, D.C.? And sometimes no resolutions is the chosen path. So I'm glad that Commissioner Candelaria went up there. We did go to the governor's mansion. It was a lot of wasted taxpayer money, but it was nice to see, I guess. So other than that, I don't have anything else. So
I just want to say, just to add on to what you were talking about, House Bill 2010-17, we opposed as it was written, but with the amendments, then we would look at it again as it's put back out after the amendments are there. But as it stands written right now, we oppose. I was actually, this has to do with justice and public safety, was actually texting our sheriff here, trying to get his take on some of the language in the bills as we're going over some of these. So we have communication here also. It's fast and furious because it doesn't take long to review a bill and then get a vote on it. So believe it or not, he was responding as quickly as he could to everything, and he also said that he would oppose that as it was written. So obviously that one is opposed as written, but amendments could be taken and could be looked at later in the next February 13th meeting. That's all I have.
okay, and then just I'll speak for myself. I do plan on attending the city council meeting tonight at 7:30 on the proposed land use code change.
And I've got, oh, go ahead.
I'm done.
Actually, I have one more thing. Fred Pettit did contact me yesterday. They did have their board meeting out at Pleasant View, PVFD, and they do have the quitclaim sign. He just forgot to bring it into town yesterday.
That's good.
So he'll catch up to us this week sometime.
That's just the paperwork, yeah.
Yep.
Good.
We can accept it electronically. We don't need the
Well,
paper in hand.
he
but-
wanted to bring it in,
Okay.
so I said, okay.
Mr. Powers?
In the haste to get Ms. Williams out here, I did overlook one thing. The town administrator for Mancos reached out to me to let us know that their planning commission will be having discussions regarding drought management, and that they are interested in the county commissioner's input, and their first discussion will be held February 19th. So if two of you or more plan to attend, I need to know so I can do a public notice that you'd be attending. But I know water is a very sensitive issue here.
Yeah, why don't you just, better to be safe than sorry, just go ahead and put that
Post
we
it.
were going to do that. And
That's
then if
probably a
we,
good idea.
until we can look at our schedules to see if we can make it or not.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Not that I know.
Actually, I forgot one more thing.
That's okay.
As I'm looking at my
We're
phone.
following the pattern.
Gosh,
Go ahead.
I've actually had a few discussions with some people in the public, and I talked to Shaq and our attorney last week, but I'm gonna try something, and I'm gonna start it in February. I don't know if it works or if it doesn't work. If it doesn't work, we'll go a different path. But the day after the meeting, I'm gonna make myself available here at the administrative office from noon to 3 for the public and or any department heads if they need to talk to a commissioner, so that it's actually in the daytime that if they wanted to come here and talk to us and look at anything here that the staff has to offer for that period of time. I'll try it for the month of February and see how it works out. May work, it may not.
See if it produces, or if it doesn't produce, you'll.
Right. So.
All
Okay,
right.
all right.
In this room here?
Mm-hmm.
I'll be in this room. Or wherever we need to migrate to, if this room is occupied.
All right, at this time, last thing on the agenda is public comment. If you'd like to comment to the commissioners, please come up to the podium and state your name and address and what you'd like to tell us.
Okay, if I drag this over.
Sure, go ahead.
Is that, okay, great. Good morning, everybody. I know some of you.
My name is Justin Vasterling. I'm the GM of the Holiday Inn Express. Oh, I'm sorry. I live on 2527 Trinity Avenue, down by the bowling alley here in Cortez. I'm the, excuse me, the general manager of our Holiday Inn Express in town, and I oversee operations at the Retro Inn here in town, which, formerly the American Garden Inn and formerly the Bell Rao. A lot of history in that building. I also oversee the Destination Grill, formerly Coco's, which probably all of us remember. I'm on the board of tourism here in Cortez, and as of yesterday, I'm an official candidate for city council for Cortez. And I really just wanted to come and let you guys know that if and when I'm elected, I'm looking forward to bridging or helping do my part to bridge a divide I see between the city and the county. And it doesn't make much sense to me. I think we're all on the same page and the same team, and I see we could benefit from working together more and seeing some of that. I just wanted to say that, and thanks for everything everybody's doing, and our clerks who seem to be running the whole show, literally. And thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Justin.
Now, don't start that yet.
I'm resetting
The
it.
walk-up doesn't count, does it, Gayla? Yeah, not the walk-up.
Gayla Park, 7672 County Road, CC, Pleasant View. Thank you. I just want to remind the commissioners, although Commissioner Candelaria was not on the board at this time, that in 2013, you did have the opportunity to get the M&M repaired under a Brownsfield grant, and you chose not to do anything about that, although that would not have cost the county anything, because the money comes from a fund that all, and I don't recall just exactly how this all works, but all sellers of petroleum products have to put into a fund that is specified specifically for cleaning up brownfield sorts of things that have to do with the petroleum industry. But you chose not to do that at
That would be
time.
incorrect.
Yeah,
We didn't own the M&M.
Right.
That's an incorrect statement. We weren't the property owners of the M&M.
I know you weren't, but I was on the planning commission at that time, and we did review all of that, and the M&M was one of the ones that was on the top of the list that would have been available to that Brownsfield. And yes, you're right, the county didn't own it. The county could have owned it.
We had no authority to enact the Brownsfield on it.
Yeah, you did.
No,
Anyway,
we didn't.
Yeah.
So we can just go to your house if we want to clean up your house without your permission?
No. What you do.
Well, then what's the difference in what you just said?
How this would work is, the grant would have the Brownsfield, I don't know what he's called, manager, go to the owners and, present a proposal of what they would contribute to the property to get it cleaned up. And in many cases, that would be so expensive that the owner would have to pay so much in that essentially they would end up not owning the property at the end, but it would depend upon how much it cost. But there was that opportunity to approach the landowner with a proposal to clean that up using funds from this petroleum industry tax that is paid.
Gayla, let's get things straight. That becomes an insurance fund that is paid on a per truck basis out of every refinery every truck that leaves a refinery.
Okay,
It's
you
an
remember
insurance
that.
fund
Okay.
for cleanups. M&M had gone well past the time frame that insurance policy was going to come in and have the effect of cleaning up that toxicity down there at the M&M. If I remember correctly, the reason that the county commissioners did not go with Brownsfield project, there was going to be cost to Montezuma County to engage the Brownsfield process and to do that Brownsfield study. There was going to be cost to Montezuma County to do that, and I know my vote at that time, the reason was I didn't think it was fair to spend taxpayers' dollars on private property, an issue that dealt with a private property owner that had a toxicity problem and a severe problem down there, to use taxpayer dollars to help get that mitigated and taken care of.
Okay, well, my time is up. I
Yep.
just wanted to mention that.
Mine too,
Right,
thanks.
thank you.
Gail, if you have any information on that, I'd love to look into it more. I mean, I'm in contact occasionally with the state about that, trying to inquire on how we can help. I mean, I don't recall the 2013 thing. Maybe it was before my time. Maybe I just don't remember it. But feel free to get me whatever information you think that might be available. Because of course, that we're interested in doing it. And so I'd like to reach back out to them. Most recently, I think I've been talking to, and this was last year, the economic development people are in Durango that are for this area, and they too thought, no, you guys can't utilize Brownsfields for this. But whatever information you have, I'd be glad to.
Yeah, I don't think there's a person in this room that doesn't want to see the M&M cleaned up. That's just a no-brainer. So we're working on it.
We're taking the next step.
Yeah.
What's behind us now is behind us, and I just want to try and move forward to do something positive for the community. And how we get there, I don't have a real good path laid out until we get all the information, but then we can lay out a path and a direction. So if you do have information that could help us, I too would appreciate that information. Thank you.
Next.
Greg Kemp, Road 35, Mancos. I wanted to mention, when you were talking about commodity distribution and food share, we have a program in Mancos that's run through the Grange. And there are eligibility requirements for commodities. You have to meet certain criteria for commodities. I don't think age has anything to do with it. But as far as the food share part, we don't have any restrictions on it. And I would like very much to be able to talk to the people who are going to meet here at Cortez to make sure that we're coordinating with our programs in both Cortez and Mancos. As part of the a recent addition to the Grange, we added a storage area for the excess food distribution, not for commodities. So if there's a freezer and cooler available, and you're going to talk, I guess you're going to talk to Lori Hall about it. We don't have the space for it, but we might be able to utilize that as well. And in fact, Lori Hall is also on our committee for the community Christmas dinner that we have annually here in Cortez. And so that equipment would be useful for that particular event also.
All right.
So I'll see what I can, if there's any value in coordinating the people that are running the Mancos Food Share and Commodities Program together with the people here in Cortez.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kemp.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to address the commission? Seeing none, commissioners, would you care to make a motion?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, folks.
Okay.
Hope to see you tonight.